Hello everybody, waving a hand at you. We're sitting in front of a leather brown sofa with a brown cushion because we're going to look at some random electronic crap every Sunday for the month of December, in some form or fashion at least. And I don't know, consider it great gift ideas. Though I wouldn't be too sure on the word great, but hey, it's an idea, I guess. Not one that's going to be going on long term, but hey, you never know. Or because even I don't know. Anyways, I was taking a trip to the pharmacy one day, and I spotted. Well, let's just get this out of the way because you already know what it is because you just read the title. This is a Miss Pac-Man Plug-n-Play Thing. It plugs directly into your TV. No game console required. Plug play TV game. And a bunch of screenshots of the game in question. And it's all in the French thing. There's a warning. Choking hazard. Small parts not for children under 3. And the developer of this thing is MSI Entertainment LLC. Fortunately, it's ages 5+, so we don't have to worry about kids under 3 years old playing this thing because why would anyone want to? Quick backstory here. I was passing by the pharmacy one day, and I saw that they had a bunch of gift ideas, and some of the gift ideas were some gaming stuff. You had a couple of those newer arcade stand things, like, you know, for the Galaga and Pac-Man, which look like little mini arcade machines, but they actually have the NES versions. And there was also that one player which had 3 games, and I considered picking that up for a lark, but it's like $50. So I'm like, you know, $50 for 3 games, where you could get a similar device that had 200 games or whatever the case may be for about half the price at Walmart. Mind you, the quality of the games wouldn't be that great, but it's more value for money, I guess, or something. Anyways, I saw that they had these weird things, and they actually, at one point, they had 3 of them. They had the Miss Pac-Man one, which is obviously what we have here. They had a Frogger one, which in hindsight I probably would have preferred to get, even though I like Miss Pac-Man more. But the other unit that they had was a Namco 3-pack, where they had 3 games built in instead of just one. And I know one of them was Pac-Mania. So I made it a point to, maybe next week if it's still there, I'll pick it up and we'll make a funny video out of it. A week later, it wasn't there. So I opted for Miss Pac-Man instead, and that's what we're going to look at. According to this MSI Entertainment has done a bunch of these little console things. Apparently, there's also a Mega Man 2 variant that sells at certain Walmarts. Unfortunately, I live in Montreal, Canada, and we have Go Gamer portables, we have those Pixel Player things, and we have Sega Genesis flashbacks that they're trying to sell for $100 and nobody's buying. However, they also have the C64 Mini, which, you know, if you've grown up on Commodore 64, it's a nice find, but I'd prefer it if they released a full-sized Commodore 64 or even a VIC-20, since that's the Commodore computer that I actually kind of grew up with and never really played any games on it, just had fun with the programming, which is probably the only real thing. Anyways, I digress here. So this is the Miss Pac-Man thing. It has some screenshots of Miss Pac-Man for the NES, the official Namco release, and not the far superior Tengen version, which I already have on cartridge form. Anyways, pretty much the same thing. Branches to your TV, you know, some nice artwork, I guess. Warning, photosensitive epilepsy. Warning, if you have a history of blah blah blah. Again, the same choking hazard. We go on the bottom. You know, the sad onion. Everybody loves the sad onion. Don't toss it in a bin. A bunch of logos, and uses 3 AA batteries, not included. Alkaline batteries are recommended. So, once upon a time, people bitched about these plug-and-play things not coming with batteries. Now we're bitching about plug-and-play things not coming with AC adapters, and you have to supply that yourself, which is how times have changed, I guess. So, anyways, I guess we're gonna do the unboxing thing, because I haven't actually opened this up, so we're not doing any retakes. Anyways, let's see what we have here. Oh, we do have some paper instructions. As a Miss Pac-Man user's guide. You fold it out and that's what you have. But hey, they tell you how to play the game, which is kind of a nice little thing. Because, you want to know how to play fucking Miss Pac-Man. Actually, even if you do know how to play, it's still a nice inclusion to have, something resembling paper instructions. When did this thing come out? 1993. Oh, well, okay. Well, is there a proper copyright thing? I didn't check. Bandai, 1993. I can't seem to find a copyright date on this thing. That's kind of unfortunate. It's off screen because I can't see shit through the viewfinder. Yeah, no paper instructions. The only copyright this thing has is for the actual game, which is 1993. I think the Tengen version came out sometime earlier. Anyways, I'm gonna try and so I guess we spin this around. Yeah. As I'm going the other way, stupid. There we go. As far as packaging goes, it's a nice way to keep this thing in one piece, or intact. I'm going to unwind the wires. It's always fun to do it live, and fun for the people at home having to watch this stuff, come apart, I guess, I suppose. Oh, wonderful! It has a screw, so you have to unscrew it to pull it out, and tabernacle. Anyways, let's get this out of the way. We just have a plain-looking Miss Pac-Man. Someone looks like the marquee on the arcade machine. And anyways, it's Miss Pac-Man. Some vintage artwork on the sides. And what we have here, we have an on and off switch. Joystick. Actually a nice clicky joystick. Oh, and it spins. And you have a B button and an A button, which, nice clicky buttons. They're nice big buttons. Although kind of pointless for a game like Miss Pac-Man, especially if it's the Namco version and not the Tengen version. For those who don't know, I'll bring it up later in the actual when we get to the actual gameplay. But yeah, the gameplay comes through these standard composite AV mono, so that's always going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, you just slap it on there like that, and it's a lot of distance with this joystick. Now, I like the micro switching thing. I'm a sucker for joysticks with micro switches. They make nice clicky sounds, and it's a nice pleasing sound. But I don't know. This feels a bit. I don't know. This feels a bit. I'll tell you what. I'll see if I can find an appropriate screwdriver. We'll put in some AAA, AA, 3 AA batteries, and we'll give this thing a shot, I guess, right? Anyways, back in a sec.
Alright, so as I've said before, this is just the NES ROM of Miss Pac-Man from Namco that's been somewhat modified to add a new splash screen and remove the two-player mode because you only have one control setup. So this is a one-player game with two difficulty settings to determine the speed of the game, and also slightly changes the colors of the mazes because that's a gimmick that this version has. Miss Pac-Man, for those who have never played it for some reason, is an offshoot of the original Pac-Man, a game where you have to clear the maze of dots and not much else needs to be said. You avoid the ghosts, you get the pellets, and stuff like that. It's a fantastic old-school arcade game, and the NES version this is cloning is a respectable port of that game, though as I've mentioned before, there's a superior unlicensed version of the game on the NES from Tengen that had more stuff, but anyways. The control setup has you moving Miss Pac-Man with the joystick, and the start, A button, and B buttons are your pause buttons because sure, why not, we gotta find something for those big buttons to do, might as well make them pause buttons. Unfortunately, the joystick in question is not of the best quality, as it feels a bit on the loose side and tends to have some response issues. Sometimes I would hold the stick in a direction, and Miss Pac-Man would not turn, and this has resulted in many more deaths than I would have liked. And it's a shame because the joystick is of such poor quality, because for some people, playing an old school arcade game like Miss Pac-Man with a proper arcade style joystick is the best means, or in some cases the only way to go, and this would have been a fine, cheapo alternative, but that's the key word in this formula, cheap. Not only is the joystick cheap feeling, but the fact that this is basically an NES on a chip clone system from the old days when sound quality and colors were not quite as accurate as today's high-end clone hardware, or even the old FC Twin that I have. Not to mention the mono composite output. Yeah, maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago this would have been a fine novelty item, but even back then you'd find Namco plug-and-play systems with multiple games on them that likely played better than this system, so... Anyways, I've rambled on long enough, back to some live footage.
Right, so that was the Miss Pac-Man plugged directly into your TV, no game console required, plug-and-play thing. And if you want the most ideal means of playing Miss Pac-Man in front of your television set, then any other option will do, quite frankly. If you have Windows, there's the Pac-Man Museum, there's the arcade game series Miss Pac-Man thing, the consoles, I'm sure there's a Namco Museum that has Miss Pac-Man on it. If you want to go a little older than that, I would suggest the Tengen version of Miss Pac-Man on the NES. Also the Genesis version, which is based on the Tengen version on the NES, and the Super Nintendo version, which is pretty much the same game but released by Williams. I'd go even farther than that. I'd say go try the Miss Pac-Man on the Atari 7800 and the Superior Pac-Man Collection homebrew, also for the Atari 7800. Hell, I would even suggest you play Miss Pac-Man on the Atari 2600 video computer system. As antiquated as that is, all these options I've listed to you right now, along with some other options that I might not cross my mind at the moment, are infinitely superior to playing this. Now the game that's featured on here, Miss Pac-Man, the official Namco release for the NES, the one that came in an actual gray cart, it's not that bad of a game, to be fair. It's not as featured ridden as the Tengen version, which had more mazes and more options, and it had a little pack boost thing that gave you a little more speed at the press of a button, you know, like these buttons here. The version included here doesn't have that, but it's still a fine game, and you know, it plays well. But it's hampered by the overall hardware. Like, I like the little clicky joystick thing, but when it comes to playing Miss Pac-Man, it's kind of shit. It's, you know, the response time is kind of you know, it's not that great. So, you know, it's not that great for playing Miss Pac-Man. God only knows how this would feel playing something like Mega Man 2, which, like I said before, they actually made something like this with Mega Man 2 on it. And I've been trying to find that one. I can't find it. I found, you know, but But yeah, but anyways, you have this joystick, which isn't all that great, and then you got these two buttons. These are your pause buttons, pretty much, your start buttons. So you don't want to go for that little one, you go for these big ones, and they pretty much get the job done too. Oh, and by the way, might have neglected this, but when you turn it on, you have a little LSD to let you know it's on. So that's always nice to have. But like I don't remember how old this is. I can't imagine this being recent. This has to be like a couple of years old because it still has the because nowadays everything unless it's one of those Dream Gear things or those Pixel Player Go Gamer things, I can't imagine like a plug and play thing coming in with regular composite. It'd have to come like with some sort of HDMI output or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. Anyways, it's Miss Pac-Man. I can't completely hate on this. It's Miss Pac-Man. I like me some Miss Pac-Man. It's a fun game, so this might be a brief keeper for a while until I could, find somebody to give it to, I guess. Or maybe a nice trade for some other pile of junk. But yeah, as far as everybody else is concerned, if you like some Miss Pac-Man, I guess it makes for a nice collectible thing, if you care for that sort of thing. But otherwise, there's plenty of other better ways to play Miss Pac-Man. This ain't it. And it's too bad, really. Oh, some of the older plug and play systems from like 10 years ago probably would have been a better option too. And, well, I guess if you can hack it and stuff like that, it's NES on a chip. I'd imagine the sound quality isn't all that, isn't quite accurate, but who cares really? So, anyways, that's that was a thing that happened, and we'll move on to some other thing happening, later, I guess. So, bye.